It was one of those late afternoons, when the golden sunlight spilled over the small-town diner like a soft memory, warm, calm, and a little sad. The sound of a distant truck rumbled down the road, and inside the diner, the air smelled of coffee, frying bacon, and something that always reminded people of home. But for the two little kids sitting quietly in the corner booth, a boy around 9 and his sister maybe 6. Home wasn't something they had anymore. Their clothes were worn out, their faces pale from hunger. Yet their eyes carried something stronger than most adults could ever understand. Pride. The boy's name was Tommy, and the little girl was Ellie. They'd been walking for hours before stepping into the diner, hand in hand, carrying a plastic bag with a few broken toys and a torn photo of their parents. The only thing left after the accident that took them away 3 months ago. The bell above the door jingled as they entered, catching the attention of Martha, the kind-hearted waitress with silver hair and a voice as gentle as a lullaby. She wiped her hands on her apron and smiled. "Hey there, sweethearts. What can I get you?" Tommy stood on his toes to reach the counter. "Just some milk, please. 2 glasses." Martha noticed the hesitation in his voice, like he was afraid she might say no. "Sure thing, honey," she said softly. "You two sit down right there." The kids nodded and took a booth by the window. They sat side by side, their legs dangling above the floor. When the milk arrived, Tommy took a small sip and then pushed the glass toward Ellie. "You drink first," he whispered. "You're smaller." Ellie shook her head, her big blue eyes glistening. "No, you're my big brother." Martha turned away for a moment, hiding the tears that threatened to spill. It wasn't just the sweetness of the gesture, it was the weight of their situation. She'd seen plenty of travelers, drifters, and lost souls walk into that diner. But something about these two felt different. They had no one. And yet, they still had each other. A few minutes later, the door flew open. Again, this time with the loud laughter and heavy boots of a motorcycle club. The Iron Hawks, known around town for their roaring bikes and tough looks, stomped inside like a thunderstorm. Leather jackets, tattoos, and boots that had seen 100 miles of bad roads. Leading them was Ryder, a tall man with a thick beard, deep eyes, and an aura that could silence a room. The customers went quiet for a second. They always did when the Hawks showed up. But Martha greeted them with her usual courage. "You boys better behave today," she joked. "Last time you left my floor muddy." Ryder smirked. "Can't promise that, Martha. Roads are rough." They all laughed. But his laughter faded when his gaze caught the 2 children in the corner booth. He noticed the cracked glasses of milk, the trembling hands of the little girl, and the boy counting a few coins, nickels and pennies, on the table. Martha came over to collect the money, but Tommy spoke up nervously. "Ma'am," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, we don't have enough right now. But we'll pay you back." "Oh. Sweetheart, that's okay," Martha began. But the boy interrupted. His eyes were serious, far older than his years. "No, ma'am. Please don't give it for free. My mom and dad always said we must earn what we take. You can pay for it now, and when we grow up, we'll come back and give it back to you. We promise." The diner went silent. Every word hit harder than the one before. Even the bikers stopped their banter. Ryder, still standing near the door, felt a strange lump in his throat. He'd heard a lot of things in his life, threats, curses, confessions, but never something so pure, so painfully honest. He walked over to their table slowly, the floor creaking beneath his boots. Tommy looked up nervously. Ellie hid behind her brother's shoulder. "Hey, kid," Ryder said in a deep, gravelly voice. "You two alone?" Tommy nodded. "Our parents went to heaven. We're walking to my aunt's house in the next town." "That's a long walk," Ryder said. Yeah. But it's okay. We rest when Ellie gets tired. You eat. Just milk today, Tommy answered, trying to smile. We had a piece of bread yesterday. Something broke inside Ryder right then. He remembered being 12, alone, hungry. Angry at the world after his own father walked out and his mother fell sick. He'd built his strength on hate and asphalt. But these two? They'd built theirs on love. He turned around and called out to Martha. Bring them some food. The best you've got. Tommy stood up. Sir, please, we can't accept charity. Ryder smiled softly. Who said anything about charity? You're gonna work for it. You two can help me later, maybe wash my bike. Clean my boots. Tommy's eyes widened. Really? We can work. Sure thing, Ryder said, patting the boy's shoulder gently. But first, you eat. The food came, pancakes, scrambled eggs, and warm biscuits. Ellie stared at the plate like it was a treasure chest. Go on, Ryder urged, dig in. They did, slowly at first, then hungrily. Around them, the entire diner stayed silent, watching with tearful smiles. Even the toughest bikers pretended to check their phones. Just so no one saw their eyes water. When they finished eating, Tommy stood up and saluted Ryder in a way only a child could, pure, untrained, and full of gratitude. Thank you, sir. We'll pay you back someday. We promise. Ryder chuckled softly. You already did, kid. How? By reminding a bunch of old bikers what honor looks like. After they ate, the bikers walked outside with the kids. The sun was setting, painting the sky in orange and purple. Ryder lifted Ellie onto his bike seat and handed her a small pink bandana from his pocket. This was my daughter's, he said quietly. She's grown now. I think it'll look better on you. Ellie grinned and tied it around her wrist proudly. Tommy looked up at Ryder. You really don't have to help us anymore, sir. You've done enough. Ryder crouched down. Listen, Tommy. In this life, some debts ain't meant to be paid with money. Sometimes it's about passing kindness on. You get me? The boy nodded slowly. Good. Now tell me where your aunt lives. We'll give you a ride. The engines roared to life, echoing through the valley. Ryder placed Ellie between himself and Tommy. And the bikers formed a protective circle around them, chrome and thunder guarding two tiny hearts. People from the diner came out to watch as the convoy rolled away, their headlights cutting through the twilight like hope itself. The ride took over an hour. By the time they reached the edge of the next town, the stars had started to peek through the darkness. When they pulled up to a small farmhouse, an older woman rushed out, tears flooding her face. Tommy. Ellie. She cried. The kids ran to her, hugging her tightly. Ryder stayed back, watching quietly. The woman turned toward him, sobbing, Thank you. Thank you for bringing them home. Ryder just nodded. They found their way. I just gave them a lift. As the bikers prepared to leave, Tommy ran up and handed Ryder a folded piece of paper. What's this? Ryder asked. It's an IOU, Tommy said proudly. It says, pay for milk. We'll return the money when we grow up. Ryder smiled and tucked the paper into his jacket pocket. I'll keep it safe, kid. You better come back for it someday. We will, Tommy said firmly. We promise. The bikers rode off into the night, their engines blending with the cricket's song. But Ryder couldn't stop thinking about those words, pay for milk. We'll return the money when we grow up. Months passed. The paper stayed in Ryder's wallet, next to an old photo of his own daughter. Every time he opened it, he was reminded that no matter how broken the world seemed, there was still good, small, quiet, unshakable good. And sometimes, that good came from two little kids who had nothing except their word. Years later, on a rainy afternoon, the bell of the same diner rang again. Martha, now a little slower but still warm, looked up and froze. Two young adults, a man in a mechanic's uniform and a woman in a nurse's outfit, stood there smiling. "Tommy? Ellie?" she gasped. "Is that you?" They laughed and hugged her tight. "It's us," Ellie said. "We came back, and we brought something." Tommy pulled out an envelope and placed it on the counter. Inside was some money and a note that said, "For the milk, and for the kindness we'll never forget." Martha wiped her tears, her heart swelling with pride. "You don't owe me a thing," she whispered. "Maybe not," Tommy said, "but a promise is a promise." As they left the diner, a familiar rumble filled the air, motorcycles in the distance. The Iron Hawks had returned, older now. Their hair grayer but their spirit still wild. Ryder was there too. When he saw the siblings, he froze for a moment. Then laughed. "I'll be damned. Look at you two." Ellie smiled. "We told you we'd return the money." Ryder pulled the old, faded paper from his wallet and handed it to them. "And I told you I'd keep it safe." They all laughed, tears mixing with the rain. The bikers stood silently, the same rough men who once ruled the road. Now humbled by the simple honor of two kids who had nothing, and gave everything. Ryder turned toward the camera of life, not a literal one, but the kind that captures moments that change people, and said quietly, "If these kids can keep a promise made with empty pockets and full hearts, maybe we all can start being better. The world doesn't need more money. It needs more hearts like theirs." The engines roared again, but this time, they didn't sound like thunder. They sounded like hope.